more than anything, what we're really doing on these shows is we are covering what I do when I'm managing ground for the handful of long-term management clients I have. Where it gets a little tricky is I try to cover all the tools that I use. But it's kind of like, you can kind of look at this type of stuff like carpentry. Yeah, every carpenter in the world has a hammer. But you know what? You're probably not going to use a hammer to cut that board in half. Instead you'll use a saw. And that's the same type of stuff really when it comes to habitat improvement. There's all sorts of different tools we can use. One of which is hinge cutting. Now, just because we can hinge cut doesn't mean that we're going to go out in our woods and we're going to hinge cut 40 acres. Heck no. Hinge cutting is a tool that we can go ahead and use to help improve our habitat. Nothing more, nothing less. Frankly, there's never been a property I have ever worked on that I have hinge cut more than 5% of it, I don't believe. Hinge cutting to me is a scalpel. Its purpose is several-fold. One, it takes these tops and it puts it down to ground level. By doing so, now we have all this browse right here at the deer's mouth. One of the biggest things we miss in management is how we end up focusing so much on food but ignoring woody browse. I don't care if we're talking Iowa. I don't care if we're talking the heartland of Illinois with thriving farm fields. Woody browse is important to whitetails, even in ag region. Now you go up to the Northland and you get away from ag, and woody browse is everything. Hinge cutting is one way of bringing that woody browse down to the mouth level. Remember, a deer's world is really from about here on down to the ground. Stuff that's up there, that doesn't do them any good. They can't reach it, as it applies to woody browse. Okay, but that said, logging is really how I produce the majority of the woody browse. I do that by hiring loggers to come out and get a forester, mark the timber, come up with a distinct plan on what I want to achieve on that ground, and have that forester dictate a plan to help achieve that. And then hire loggers to come in and get it taken care of and put money in my and my clients' pockets instead of taking it out. That's how I produce the majority of the woody browse. That said, hinge cutting also helps produce woody browse instantly, because what you're doing is you're cutting that tree on the backside of the lean, having the tree fall over and maintaining that connection to the root system. By doing so, certain types of species will live. This white birch here, do not try to hinge cut this white birch. This white birch will kill you. Well, it probably won't. It's not big enough to, unless it kicks out and hits you as perfect. But my point is that this white birch does not hinge cut well. Aspens don't hinge cut well. They end up barber chairing. How do you do this type of stuff safely? The way you do it safely is you stick to trees to start with about the diameter of your bicep. You go ahead and you hinge cut those, and you get the feel for what species hinge cut safely, which ones don't. But no, we are not talking about hinge cutting your entire 40, 80, 120 acres. That would be pants on head stupid. Do not do that. Instead, use it as a scalpel. Use it to edge feather along that food plot. Use it to create that doe bedding area where native grasses or planting spruce doesn't work out well. Use it to create a blockade where you don't want the deer to go through, or to blockade them down a little bit more so you can cover that funnel. Go ahead and create sidewalks with it. That type of stuff. They are tools, but each and every time you are doing that, you are mainly increasing your woody browse. You don't have to do it with high timber value species. As a matter of fact, you don't have to ruin your timber at all. You can use it to improve your timber quality by hinge cutting the low. Hinge cutting is nothing more than yet another tool in our habitat improvement arsenal. It is not the end-all be-all, it is not our savior, and it is not the devil. What it is a tool that can be used in very specific situations. But you would not use a hammer to try to cut a board in two. So don't use hinge cutting when logging is a better choice. Instead, match your tools to the specific situation and you're going to be a lot better off.